Good evening. Welcome to tonight's On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers. Tonight's show is 2 hours long and live, so if you have any questions for our guest during the show, text them to 87778 with the word EDGE, a space, and then your name, location, and your message. And we'll try to pick up on any that really hit the mark. They're all charged at standard rate, so why not get ready to text? Tonight's show is hopefully going to be something of a roller coaster conspiracy fest, so please hold on to your seats. I'll be talking with a very special guest, a researcher, broadcaster, and investigator who has thrown light into some very dark corners and who famously predicted the exact date of 9/11. He's been on my show before, on the line from his home in Austin, Texas, talking about Nibiru, or Planet X. But tonight, however, he is here live in the studio. You may know him from his legendary online channel, The Freeman Perspective, Freeman Radio, and Freeman TV. He is, surprisingly, Freeman. What a show we've got tonight. Welcome.
Thank you, Theo.
Good to see you in the flesh.
It's wonderful to be here.
Good.
England has been right and proper.
Fantastic. So, I think we should do a little bit of background. So tell me about yourself and how you got involved in these kind of areas of research.
Absolutely. It's been a little odd for me. I had a strange imagination as a child, thought about UFOs, thought about ancient astronauts, pyramids, and things of this nature. Was always interested in that. Finally, I made my way to college with some ideas and thoughts in my head about how different the world might be, and I was introduced to Freemasonry. And
what do you mean you were introduced to it?
Well, a friend of mine started to explain to me, well, have you ever seen this symbol? And it was the compass, square, and G of Freemasonry.
Right.
And I thought to myself, well, I really know that symbol. That looks very familiar. Why do I know this? And when I returned home, it dawned on me that my father, I used to wear his cufflinks as spaceman insignia when I was a child, and they were the compass, square, and G. So I found out then that my father was worshipful master of a Kaiserslautern lodge in Bavaria. He was from California. He's not German. But he was the worshipful master, which is like the king of a lodge.
So were you living then in Germany?
No. He had, well, my father's being a worshipful master in the lodge went on to chase flying saucers in Project Blue Book. He built nuclear missiles, and that's when I was born. And so we were in Florida.
But so was he? I don't understand why he would be the master or the worshipful master of a lodge in Bavaria if you were living in California or Florida.
Right, and honestly, I don't have that half of the story. It all had to do with his wartime. He was, military through and through. He went through the Navy and then the Air Force, and was on Killer 1 submarine with Jimmy Carter.
Well, that is a nuclear submarine.
It was the first nuclear submarine.
Killer 1.
Killer 1.
Subtle, isn't it? What's your mission statement? Killer 1.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But so if you show the image of my dad, you'll see.
Yeah, let's have a look at number 1.
You'll see what I was starting to come into a revelation.
He's the chap at the top there.
That's right, and that's him with his full worshipful master garb. And this is the attire worn inside of a Masonic lodge. Most especially for a worshipful master, he has the top hat and the big necklace and all of the gavel, and he's the one that runs the rituals inside of the lodge. So if you're at a Freemasonic lodge, they go through different levels, but if you're at the top level, everyone will be at that top level. But inside of the lodge, there are stations, and so basically he was king of the lodge.
And these items around his photograph, these are his actual things, are they?
Absolutely.
That you've now got, or
yes,
your mother? Or...
Yeah, no, they were bequeathed to me, and I have all of that, which includes, if you'll see there, like wine, corn, and oil, which they use to cast spirits into buildings.
Oh, those 3 little bottles at the bottom of that picture. Can we have that picture again? Those 3 little bottles at the bottom left there, in that case. That wine?
Corn and oil.
Corn? What do you mean corn? Like pieces of corn? Or...
Yeah, exactly.
And you cast spirits?
You would cast spirits. As you would lay the cornerstones for the building, they do a proper ceremony, and then they'll cast these wine, corn, and oil to bring about proper spirits.
Is this an ancient Egyptian thing, do you think?
It really is. The deeper I got into understanding Freemasonry, the more I came to Kabbalism.
Let me just rewind you a tiny bit there.
Sure.
The reason that you were left all these things, is it because your father saw for you a role in Freemasonry?
He had hoped. Now, Freemasonry is unable to recruit. No, this is
You
part
have
of
to
the
volunteer, don't
spiritual
you, or-
nature. Yes, you must come of your own free will and accord, and you must believe in a single God. These are the only two requirements.
And because then you swear allegiance, and there's terrible things that happen to you if you break your vow of silence.
I can tell you the oath if you want to know it.
Do you want to say it?
Oh, I don't mind.
If it's quick?
It's simply the first degree. Now, there's, 32. But the first degree would be to bind yourself under an oath of penalty, no less than to cut your throat across, have your tongue ripped out by its roots, and buried at the rough sands of the sea at low water mark, where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours, should you ever knowingly or willingly violate your oath or obligation as an entered apprentice Freemason. And that's the first degree.
But your father was 33rd degree.
He was 32nd degree, but worshipful master.
Oh, but isn't there another degree above then?
Yes, is a degree that is an honorary degree that's typically granted. You must be selected to be in the 33rd.
Okay.
It's curious who has made it to the 33rd. Arnold Palmer, John Glenn, MacArthur.
Well, yeah, several astronauts. Apparently the moon landing astronauts were Masons, is that correct?
I was at the Temple of the 33rd, the Supreme Mother Council of the World, which is 13 blocks from the Capitol in D.C., in the District of Columbia. And they have there, encased in glass, the flag of the Supreme Council that Buzz Aldrin brought back from the moon.
They did actually raise a Mason's flag on the moon, didn't
Absolutely.
they? I've heard. Assuming, of course, that they went, because, as you may know,
Exactly.
we have done programs that suggest they didn't go.
I sometimes think they did go, they did a Masonic ritual, they just didn't want you to know about it. So the film was a hoax, but the ride was real.
Well, the film was, I think, pretty certainly a hoax, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
So, okay, you went to university, you were interested in esoteric subjects. Where do we
Yes.
go from here?
Well, I studied ancient architecture at university, studying Egypt and the Minoans up into Greece and on into the cathedrals, which I've been having a lovely time reviewing around here. And I started to notice encoded symbolism in many of these buildings, and then also in many of the, not just the architecture, but symbolic meanings in corporate logos. What I discovered was that Freemasonry was essentially Kabbalism. So if you want to go to the second image,
Let's go to the second image.
I'm sorry, or third.
Third image?
The idea of Kabbalism.
The one with the statues on it? Third image, that's the one.
Yes. Now, this right here is the home of Ray Mabus, and we'll get to him later. In the back is the pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee, which is a sports arena. But what you see here is the passing down of this knowledge. What has happened is there was a knowledge in ancient Egypt, and it was passed to Moses. And this knowledge then became known as the Kabbalah. Now, according to Kabbalah, Moses went to the mountain 3 times to speak with God, to speak with the burning bush. And on the 3rd time, he was receiving the soul of the law, which is Kabbalah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but
Sure.
I thought the burning bush was something that happened somewhere else, apart from up the mountain, when he was receiving the tablets from God. Is that not right?
No, they actually followed a UFO to the mountain, and Moses went up the mountain. And this is where they gave him the stones. Now, what had happened was that God told Moses the exact proportions to build the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
Now, this is a perfect electromagnetic conducting device. Once you study that with its gold acacia wood and the way that it was set
And
up,
those 2 angels on the top.
the cherubim on top were basically the antenna, and inside of this was called the Shekinah, which was the voice of God that would speak to them and also lay waste to their enemies. And so what we find is, if you find the whole story in Kabbalism, you find Moses comes down the mountain. The first time the stones don't work. He has to go back. He comes back down the mountain this time, and this time the stones radiate, and from that point on he has to wear a veil. They place these stones in this perfect electromagnetic conductor, and then they carry it around as a weapon that they have to keep wrapped up in hides. When they unveil it, it would then take out their opposing army.
What with what? Radiation or electricity?
Many
or
people think so. If you
thunderbolts?
read Graham Hancock, he tells the tale of how they stole the ark, and each king would say, "Open it and show me the rod of Aaron, show me the stones, from God." And they would die of this withering disease with strange sores, losing their hair and
Well,
whatnot.
it's radiation sickness.
Exactly.
I have had a guest on this program called Alan Wilson, a researcher who is quite convinced that the Ark of the Covenant is buried in Wales.
Oh, really?
But perhaps that's another subject.